In this video, I'm going to be breaking down why I think people do cold exposures, why it's bad for muscle growth, and finally, what I recommend you do. First of all, why do people do cold exposures? Well, first of all, cold exposure activates the system inside your body called the fight or flight system, which your body activates when it's placed in a stressful environment. And some people find this enjoyable because the fight or flight system produces adrenaline, which is the chemical which makes you feel hyped up and also helps to wake your body up for the day. Another reason is because people have this idea that if they do this hard, uncomfortable thing, then the rest of the day will feel easier. This kind of makes sense because say you've already put your body through tons of stress, and then later in the day you have this meeting at work that won't feel as hard because your body has already gone through some level of stress, in some cases, which was even greater than that meeting at work. Now, why is cold exposure bad, specifically for muscle growth? Well, there are 4 reasons. Reason 1, if you do cold exposure before training, it really cools down the muscles and your joints, meaning they're far more brittle, which means that when you start training, especially if you don't warm up properly, you're far more likely to get injured. Reason 2, it lowers the amount of growth post-workout, because when you work out, your growth pathways are trying to heal the muscle cells. And then when you go and dip your body into a tub of freezing cold water, you're basically telling your body to reduce the growth by up to 50%. So then in that case, why even train with all that blood, sweat and tears just to come home and purposefully reduce the possible growth? Reason 3 is that it reduces blood flow to the muscle. Now, as you probably know, blood delivers nutrients and all that other stuff to your muscles. So when you then reduce that blood flow, your muscles are receiving less nutrients that they need for growth, in essence limiting the growth potential. And finally, reason 4 that cold exposure is bad is because of this specific type of protein called a heat shock protein. Now, this protein seems to have a good correlation between it and the growth of muscles. And when you go into cold, you're basically reducing the heat shock proteins massively. However, this is pretty speculative, and so it's probably not entirely accurate. Now, what I recommend you do is to make sure to be warm before training and just don't do cold exposure at all after training. So this means either you do cold exposure before, but then wear tons of layers, or go into the sauna before training. Or you could also just do cold exposure another time unrelated to training. So say you train at 4 p.m, then do your cold exposures at 10 in the morning. So you still get it done and it won't affect your training. If this video helped you out, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.